Mirëmëngjes. Nderuar zonja ministre Denaj, të nderuar zotëri ambasador, të nderuar përfaqësues të Bankës Italisë dhe të Bankës Gjermanisë, zonja e zotëri, miqe të ftuar. Kam kënaqësinë si guvernatori i Bankës së Shqipërisë t'ju uroj mirëseardhjen në ceremoninë prezantuese të projektit të binjakëzimit, fuqizimi i parafrimit të Bankës së Shqipërisë me legjislacionin e Bashkimit Evropian. Ky projekt i financuar nga fondet e Bashkimit Evropian nëpërmjet instrumentit të para antarësimit të vitit 2015 është në vazhdën e projektit të mëparshëm identifikimi nevojave për parafrimin e Bankës së Shqipërisë, konceptuar dhe udhëhequr nga Banka Qendrore Evropiane në partneritet me 11 banka të tjera të qendrore të Bashkimit Evropian. Nga ky këndvështrim, projekti i ri që po lançojmë sot duhet konsideruar si vazhdimsi e projektit mëparshëm, përderisa ai do të adresojë një pjesë të mirë të rekomandimeve të vitit 2014. Duke shpresuar që pranvera e vitit 2020 do të hap dritën jeshile të negociatave për Shqipërinë, dua të siguroj të pranishmit në këtë sallë që Banka e Shqipërisë mbetet një institucion plotësisht i angazhuar në përmbushjen e prioriteteve që rrjedhin nga procesi i integrimit evropian. Objektivat madhor të përsosjes afatgjatë të institucionit përkojnë me parafrimin e kuadrit saj ligjor, rregullator dhe operacional me atë të sistemit evropian të bankave qendrore. Në këtë pikë dëshiroj të theksoj se ndërmarrja e projekteve të tilla nënvizon qartazi angazhimin reciprok të Bashkimit Evropian dhe të Shqipërisë në drejtim të thellimit të proceseve integruese të kësaj të fundit, si dhe ripërtërin perspektivën e qartë europiane të Shqipërisë. Të nderuar pjesëmarrës, në dekadën e fundit Banka e Shqipërisë ka zbatuar disa projekte të financuara me fondet e Bashkimit Evropian. Projekti i parë i binjakëzimit u zbatua gjatë vitit 2012-2013 dhe ashtu si sot, Banka e Italisë, në atë kohë në partneritet me Bankën e Francës, kontriboi me sukses në arritjen e rezultateve konkrete në 6 fusha të rëndësishme të veprimtarisë së Bankës së Shqipërisë. Projekti i dytë, identifikimi i nevojave për parafrimin e Bankës së Shqipërisë, i financuar nga fondet e Bashkimit Evropian, u udhëhoq nga Banka Qendrore Evropiane dhe u zbatua gjatë vitit 2014. Projekti me kohëzgjatje 6 mujore synonte vlerësimin e kuadrit ligjor rregullator të Bankës së Shqipërisë në krahasim me standardet dhe praktikat më të mira të bankave qendrore europiane. Nga ky këndvështrim, duhet nënvizuar se rekomandimet e lëna në përfundim të projektit përbëjnë listën e prioriteteve kryesore për parafrimin institucional të Bankës së Shqipërisë me modelin e sistemit evropian të bankave qendrore. Më tej për të mësuar adresimin e prioriteteve të sipërpërmendura, Komisioni Evropian vendosi të akordojë një mbështetje financiare në vlerën e 800.000 eurove si pjesë e instrumentit të paraantarësimit të vitit 2015. Pas një procesi të gjatë konsultimesh dhe shkëmbimi informacionesh, për herë të parë nga vetë ekspertët e Bankës së Shqipërisë u përgatit projekti i binjakëzimit, i cili u dorëzua delegacionit evropian të akredituar në Shqipëri. Në përfundim të procesit përzgjedhës, fituese për zbatimin e projektit të Bankës së Shqipërisë rezultuan Banka e Italisë dhe Banka e Gjermanisë. Pjesë e skuadrës fituese për lëvrimin e komponentëve të veçantë do të jetë dhe Banka e Francës dhe Banka Kombëtare e Rumanisë. Sigurisht ndjehemi të privilegjuar nga partneriteti i ngushtë me këto dy banka të mëdha. Marrëdhëniet me këto institucione datojnë herët në historikun e Bankës së Shqipërisë. Mbështetja e tyre vazhdueshme ndër vite në forma multi dhe bilaterale ka kontribuar që Banka e Shqipërisë të përmbushë objektivat e saj dhe të funksionojë si një institucion modern dhe i besueshëm. Është kjo arsyeja që më bën optimist se edhe projekti i radhës do të përmbyllet me sukses, pavarësisht agendës së ngjeshur dhe kohës së shkurtër që kemi në dispozicion. Pa dashur të zgjadhe më tej, lejoni shkurtimisht t'ju njoh me fushat e punës tonë, ku do të shtrihet fokusi i këtij projekti. Programi që kemi ndërtuar do të përfshi 8 departamente të ndryshme të Bankës Shqipërisë, ndërkohë që do të adresojë çështje të rëndësishme që teknikisht e në mënyrë koncize përmbledhen në 8 komponentë si më poshtë: mbikëqyrja bankare dhe stabiliteti financiar, politika monetare dhe statistikat, auditi i brendshëm dhe sistemet e pagesave dhe funksionet të tjera të bankingut qendror, si burimet njerëzore dhe integrimi evropian. Për secilin prej këtyre komponentëve që janë parashikuar dhe rezultate të matshme, të cilat do të përkthehen në dokumenta konkret, rregullatore, manuale dhe rekomandime specifike të natyrës politikbërëse. Të gjitha rezultatet synojnë të sjellin një shkallë të lartë të parafrimit të produktit final në raport me standardet dhe modelet e sistemit evropian të bankave qendrore. Nderuar pjesëmarrës, shpresoj që ky projekt të japë fryte afatgjata, duke i shërbyer forcimit kuadrit rregullator dhe operacional të Bankës së Shqipërisë, si një nga institucionet me kontribut qëndësishëm në zhvillimin e qëndrueshëm ekonomik të vendit. Në emër të institucionit Bankës së Shqipërisë, lejoni të shpreh gatishmërinë tonë për të zbatuar me sukses projektin e Binjakëzimit, duke treguar profesionalizëm dhe përgjegjësi në përmbushjen e objektivave të tij. Në përfundim do dëshiroja të bëja disa falënderime, duke filluar me Komisionin Evropian, falëmbështetjes së cilit u mundësua dhe financimi i këtij projekti. Besoj se mbështetja e Komisionit Evropian nuk do të na mungojë edhe në nismat e tjera të Bankës së Shqipërisë, gjatë përballimit të sfidave të parafrimit dhe progresit të vendit drejt familjes së përbashkët europiane. Gjithashtu dëshiroj të falenderoj delegacionin evropian për mbështetjen dhe sugjerimet e vlefshme të dhëna përgjatë gjithë kohës së hartimit dhe konsultimit projektit, si dhe drejtorinë e përgjithshme të kontraktimeve financiare, e cila në çdo fazë të procesit të hartimit dhe të përzgjedhjes ka këmbgulur në respektimin e të gjitha procedurave të adoptuara nga Komisioni Evropian për administrimin e fondeve financiare. Një falënderim i veçantë i drejtohet Bankës së Italisë, si institucion i cili në vazhdimsi po na mbështet me përcjelljen e eksperiencës së tyre të vyer. Shpreh besimin se eksperienca dhe serioziteti i Zotit Gola është një garanci më shumë në këtë drejtim. Mirënjohje të veçantë dëshiroj të shpreh edhe për Bankën e Gjermanisë, për pjesëmarrjen e saj aktive në këtë projekt dhe rolin e saj specifik në drejtimin e projektit rajonal, fuqizimi i kapaciteteve të bankave qendrore të Ballkanit Perëndimor në parafrimin me sistemin evropian të bankave qendrore. Falënderimi i radhës shkon për Bankën Kombëtare të Rumanisë dhe Bankën e Francës për përfshirjen e tyre në këtë projekt. Dhe falënderimi i fundit, por jo më pak i rëndësishëm, shkon për stafin e Bankës së Shqipërisë të përfshirë intensivisht në hartimin e projektit dhe në zbatimin e tij. Shpreh bindjen se ashtu dhe si në eksperiencat e mëparshme, dhe kësaj radhe projekti do të përmbyllet me sukses duke kontribuar në përsosjen e mëtejshme të institucionit tonë si Bankë Shqipërie. Ju falenderoj të gjithëve për pjesëmarrjen. Fjalën do t'ja kaloja. Do t'ja kaloja fjalën ambasadorit Kutilio me kënaqësi. Faleminderit.
Governor Seiko, Minister Denaj, Ambassador Zingrov, Ambassador Perpelea, representative of the EU delegation, Director Mink, Zeloni, Angola. Ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, good morning, and it's really a pleasure for me to attend this ceremony for the launching of the new twinning with Bank of Albania, enhancing Bank of Albania's alignment with EU acquis. I think Governor said it all, so I will be very, very short, but just allow me to underline how proud we are as Italy to be again siding with the Bank of Albania, which has been for many years in strict cooperation with the Banca d'Italia. Even the history of this bank reminds us of its link with Italy, including the magnificent building we are now, and particularly this hall, which is one of my favorite, probably my favorite places in Tirana. This twinning is particularly important, and I think it will be successful because all the partners are not only strong partners, but very motivated to do their best. I have had the opportunity in my 4 years in Albania to appreciate the quality of the work of the central bank, and I would like to take this opportunity to congratulate Governor Seiko and his staff, the Supervisory Council, for the quality of the work. I can certainly say Bank of Albania is one of the strongest institutions in the country, and this is particularly important given the high responsibilities the bank has in terms of supervision, fixing the monetary policy. I think it requires a strong institution, and Albanians can be proud of what the bank is achieving in the course of the years. And the help of the 4 central banks which have been mentioned, Banca d'Italia, Bundesbank, Banque de France, and Bank of Romania, I think will be definitely important to move toward the common goal, which is the membership into the European Union of Albania. And this membership goes through the opening of negotiations, but as I said many times, it goes also through individual steps in all, let's say, areas of civil society, public administration, even individuals approaching the European Union in spirit, in their values, and in their daily achievement. So I think this twinning is particularly effective in this respect. So I can only wish to the team. Mr. Gola will be heading it, but I know there are so many others coming from the 4 central banks. Of course, the staff of Bank of Albania. I can only wish them all the best and success in this intense year ahead. I will not be here to evaluate the outcome, but from Rome I will be following closely, and I'm sure it will be a very positive and successful twinning. So with these words, I would thank you again and for inviting me, and wish you all the best. Thank you.
Thank you, Ambassador. Please.
Good morning to everybody. I'm very pleased to participate in this event as leader of the twinning project between Banca d'Italia and Bank of Albania. Banca d'Italia has already been the leading institution of a first twinning held in 2010 and 12 in favor of Bank of Albania, and we are now ready to make our best effort to support this new program. I will start my presentation with a brief description of the objective of the twinning and the reasons why we believe that the project will be successful. Then I will move to the methodology and the components of the twinning. In 2014, Albania received the status of candidate country. This was the result of Albania's reform efforts in recent years. The process of integration is still open, and Albania needs to continue with existing reforms and embark on new improvements. Over the last years, Bank of Albania has played a central role in this process due to its contribution to the achievement of the macroeconomic stability, and has made progress in the development of the various areas covered by the present project. However, further advancements appear to be needed for the full establishment of an operational system that is more aligned with EU standards. The overall objective of the present twinning project is therefore to strengthen Bank of Albania and to assist it in the consolidation of its capacity, and in this way to increase its contribution to the Albanian integration process. This is a particularly challenging and ambitious project for at least 2 reasons. First, because it requires a major effort on the part of the Bank of Albania to consolidate and further improve its capacity to ensure a smooth advancement in the European integration process. Secondly, because it takes place at a time in which central banks are facing important challenges to revitalize the economy and ensure financial stability. Various factors, however, give us confidence that we will be able to meet these challenges. First of all, the strong Bank of Albania commitment. We have been very impressed since the very first day of our collaboration by the quality of the staff of the Bank of Albania and by their dedication to the project. In this respect, I would like to thank warmly Governor Seiko and my counterpart, Mr. Gramos Colasi, for their commitment to the success of this project. Secondly, the Banca d'Italia's strong support. I must report that also within the Banca d'Italia there has been a considerable interest in contributing to this project by our staff. We have in fact been able to put together a pool of 55 experts who will provide training, consultation, and on-the-job assistance to our Albanian colleagues, constantly supported in Tirana by our resident twinning advisor. Moreover, 8 study visits to the Banca d'Italia will be held in favor of a number of Albanian colleagues. A factor that also plays in favor of this partnership is that in both our institutions, typical central banking functions coexist with bank supervision functions, and this has greatly facilitated the coordination of the twinning project activities. Third success factor is, I believe, our experience in EU finance programs and long-established relations with the Bank of Albania. Banca d'Italia has a wide experience in participating in twinnings and other programs financed by the European Commission, also in cooperation with other European national central banks. In 1999, Banca d'Italia has been involved as a leading or partner institutions in successful twinning projects with other central banks in many of the areas covered by this program. Banca d'Italia has also a long-lasting history of relations with the Bank of Albania. Policy and operational practices have been shared in many occasions, and the staff of the two institutions have worked in close cooperation in various European projects and in bilateral technical cooperation activities. The last but certainly not least factor of success of this initiative is the collaboration of the Deutsche Bundesbank, Banque de France, and the Bank of Romania, with their well-known expertise in the area of regulation, European regulation and integration. I now leave the floor to Ms. Andrea Mink from the Deutsche Bundesbank. Andrea is the junior project leader and will explain the involvement of the other central banks. Andrea, please.
Thank you, Luca, for giving me the floor. Good morning to everybody also from my side. Please allow me to introduce myself briefly. I'm Andrea Mink. I'm representing the Deutsche Bundesbank as junior project partner for this project, and we are very delighted to be part of this project. I have been working in the Center for International Central Banking Dialogue, the former Center for International Central Bank Cooperation of the Bundesbank, for 16 years now, and I'm managing a unit that is responsible for the coordination and implementation of projects with many partner institutions like this twinning project. Therefore, over the last years, I was lucky to participate in several twinning projects and other international projects. And working in these projects, I learned that each cooperation is unique and has its own dynamics, although it follows the similar rules. Therefore I'm really looking forward to working with the colleagues from the Bank of Albania and to gain new experience from our cooperation and interaction. The Bundesbank has a long history in central banking and has also run through two important transformation processes in the recent past, one of it being the German reunification and the second one, the introduction of the euro as a single currency in the euro area. And to let other countries gain from all this experience, that's the reason why the Bundesbank is engaged in technical central bank cooperation for now almost 30 years. While in the beginning the cooperation was more like a student-teacher relation, this way of interacting has changed completely. Nowadays it's more or less an exchange of dialogue between and engaging a dialogue between peers, as this is the way all involved experts can benefit most. So the Bundesbank, to give you also an impression how our cooperation, how wide it is, on an annual basis we complete usually 250 activities with almost 3,000 participants from 100 countries around the globe. And almost in 2004, the Bundesbank carried out the first twinning project with the Czech National Bank, and altogether we now have taken part in 13 EU-funded projects for 11 countries, twinning projects and large-scale ESCB projects, which was already mentioned, the needs analysis project from the ESCB and also the ongoing Western Balkan project. And to manage projects of this dimension, we cooperate with 22 member states of the ESCB as well as with the ECB. So this long-term and close collaboration within the ESCB results in a strong partnership, which enables us to consult experts from countries, even if they are not part of the initial partner states, for our project here as well. So we can make sure that we always engage experts that suit the needs of the Bank of Albania best. When it comes to the implementation of the EU acquis, Italy, Germany and France, being the founding members of the EU, have extensive experience in the implementation and in incorporating the EU requirements into the national legislation, and therefore we think that the Bank of Albania can benefit from our insights and long-standing experience, as we are representing the key players within the European context and particularly within the European financial sector. Representing a younger EU member state that completed its EU accession in 2007, Romania owes very recent institutional memories and experience on the EU accession negotiation process. This combination of founding and younger member states of the EU gives us confidence that the project will be highly beneficial for your country. So, thank you.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Ming. I appreciate. Now, our speeches.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Governor. Thank you, Andrea. Let me finish spending a few words on the methodology of the program. Yes, the slide is the right one. Twinning is a cooperation based on two main principles. First, mutual and equal partnership. Second, open and constructive dialogue. Banca d'Italia and the other central bank partners fully committed to this approach. We are developing a participative partnership with our Albanian colleagues to maximize the effective transfer of skills and knowledge and to define tailor-made solutions that work for Albania and are at the same time in line with EU best practices. Such an approach ensures the sustainability of the project. The results will certainly last beyond the project's lifetime. So the project aims at strengthening the institutional capacity of the Bank of Albania in 5 areas, 5 components, and Carlo Gola will explain better the 5 components later: financial stability, monetary policy, payment system, internal audit, human resources, and European integration process. What I'd like to stress now that during the first 2 months of the project, the joint work of our experts and our Albanian colleagues has allowed to set some very precise objectives for each of these areas and a detailed working plan. The implementation of this proposal will be carried out in 12 months. In order to maximize the dissemination of knowledge and experiences, expert missions from our national central banks to Albania will be the main instrument of cooperation. In some cases, study tours will be organized at the premises of the national central banks in Italy, Germany, Romania, to allow the Albanian colleagues to gain an on-the-job experience. As I had mentioned at the outset, this program does not lack ambition. While the full engagement of both sides will be essential to reach our goals, we know we can rely on a very effective framework of cooperation and on the successful experience made in other similar projects. This experience tells us that EU twinnings are not just a one-way tools of transferring expertise and standards. They, in fact, provide an excellent opportunity by working together to devise solutions that are compatible with the specificities and the local environment, and thus more likely to be effectively implemented. Before leaving the floor to the Twinning Resident Advisor, allow me to share with you my firm conviction that this initiative will be a proof of the great contribution which a deep integration with the EU can make to the institutional development of countries. I firmly believe that the EU brings to member states significant benefits, and confident that the twinning program we are launching will definitely help Albania to qualify and enjoy membership. I leave now the floor to my colleague Carlo Gola, the resident advisor. Please, Carlo. Thank you.
Okay. Good morning. Yes, my name is Carlo Gola. I'm resident Twinning advisor. I will stay here in Tirana for 1 year. And I work at the Bank of Italy, the macroprudential analysis department. Previously, I was at the IMF as a senior advisor to the executive director office in the Italia constituency, dealing with Albania. Indeed, more than 10 years ago, I was here engaging the previous governor and the staff here in the Bank of Albania. So I'm returning here, and I'm very pleased to follow this program. What I'm going to do is to present more in details the content of this program. As already mentioned, it has 5 components. One is banking and financial supervision and financial stability, monetary policy and statistics, and then internal auditing, payment system, and other internal functions, namely human resources and European integration office. So I wanted to start with some statistics that are very impressive, I believe. It's in only 1 year program, but we are covering 10 topics, because each component, indeed, as you will see, is split in 2 parts, but pretty different one than the other. And the effort from member states is very substantial, as you see. You see a very high number of experts relieve very clearly how it's complicated and detailed nowadays banking and financial regulation. And we need really a super expert, I will say, for each single activity from member states, countries. The total mandates You see the number is also very impressive, and the number of activities, by activity we mean missions from staff here in Tirana and study visit from Bank of Albania staff in various capitals, is more than 120, as you see. We also intend to set up 3 visibility events. One, of course, is this one. In the mid-term, we will have an event pretty important on, we're thinking about on payment system and financial inclusion, which we believe it is an important part of this, the problems here, let's say, in Albania. Having in mind a more broad public and to be more, you see, engaging, perhaps we have to design how to organize this second visibility event, and then there will be the last one, end of the program. There is a substantial amount of resources provided, as you see, from the Commission here. So, as you see from these charts, the resources provided by different member states, as you see, Bank of Italy indeed is playing a quite important part. It's 70%, let's say, of man days, total hours. And then, of course, there is a substantial also support by the other central banks. So moving to the content of this program, I would try to provide you not only the single topic, but a bit also the perspective of these reforms that they are going also in Europe, and to see how we can proceed here in Albania in further enhancing the process. In many areas that we touch upon, we will see Bank of Albania, it is at a very good stage. Most of these are refinements, also because the regulation in banking finance and also payment system is an never-ending story, let's say. The reform has always changed also in other countries. So the calibration of this program is also very important. Regarding the first component, is you see split it in 2 parts. One, it is on the Basel III regulations, and the second is more on macroprudential. On the first block, I would say, as you certainly know, after the Basel II in 2004, there was a reaction in order to calibrate better the capital for institutions from the previous model, which was very standardized and simplicist. But after the crisis, regulators realized that there was some, let's say, regulatory arbitrage behind that framework, and also difficulties in comparing calibration of capital between institutions. So then Basel III regulation start to change this set, and indeed even now we're talking about Basel IV, in the sense that this sort of calibration according to the circumstances and the needs that we are facing is always changing. So the program, it is indeed in updating guidelines on internal models. These are part of the 2 pieces of legislation, very important, which is the Capital Requirement Directives, number 4, and the Capital Requirement Regulation. The most important parts on which we will spend some of our time in this program will be updating guidelines for internal models. These internal models, indeed, so-called internal capital adequacy assessment program, they are model, let's say, tailor-made by more sophisticated institutions in order, indeed, to calibrate the capital. But more recently, also, the ECB in January of this year introduced further refinements on this internal model process. And indeed, these internal models are previously approved and then assessed by the regulator in another process called SREP, Supervisory Review and Evaluation Process, and the regulation once a year has to assess these internal models of the entities. Why I'm saying this? Because indeed nowadays also in our countries, the regulators are changing a bit how to approach this sort of assessment of internal models in order to increase the comparabilities of these models and also to avoid, sort of, again, not exactly regulatory arbitrage, but I will say calibration which are not the best that according to circumstances. So in this supervisory review, we are talking about large exposure, the consolidation of corporations, and also the countercyclical capital buffer. Stress testing is also another important part of this process. And here nowadays regulators are continuously trying to enhancing how to implement this model. Stress testing is sort of simulation in order to see the reaction of capital adequacy facing extreme events, extreme very rare events. So it's a technique that on which also we ourselves continuously try to learn how to do this, and we will provide technical assistance on this area too. In addition of that, we are also intend to underline and to point our attention on standardized models, typically used by minor entities. And in this area, we intend to look upon the credit risk, market risk, operational risk, counterparty risk, and securitization-related risk. So it's a broad set of risks within the framework of standardized models. And then we are also considering to take in account the most recent accounting standard has been introduced with the IFRS 9 in order to take, let's say, more attention also on expected losses. Here, the full framework, Basel and also accounting standards, they are trying to avoid the system of pro-cyclicality, because typically during the crisis, what happens is the regulation by itself generated further, let's say, instability in order to set up further capitals and so on. So the new stream of regulation is indeed more forward-looking. The second part of macroprudential, it is related to a set of recommendations issued by the European Systemic Risk Board, which is part of the ECB. And here I'm not talking about single entities, but of course the system as a whole. And the intention it is to point our attention on mitigating risk related to real estate sector, which is very important, as you know, here in Albania. Another aspect it is on interconnections between banks and non-bank entities, particularly mutual funds, money market funds, and so on, that during the crisis was also an important part of the instability. And also, we intend to focus our attention on exchange rate risks related to the use of not domestic denominated assets, the use of euro and so on. The imbalances between asset and liability in two different currencies, of course, is creating potential problems, and there are some mitigation on this side. And finally, there is a systemic risk buffer, which is an add-on on the capital for long-term risks. This sort of set of regulation is not in the CRD regulation, but has been used in many countries in Central Europe. So moving to the next section, it is on monetary policy and statistics. Here again, the first part of monetary policy, the aim, it is to produce a more effective and forward-looking document. The monetary policy report is very important, as you know, in a setting of inflation targeting. Nowadays, monetary policy pays a lot of attention, let's say, in shaping the expectation, in providing guidance to the expectation towards the target. So to communicate, perhaps in a more simple manner, an effective manner, is extremely important. So here it is communication of the monetary policy and also more forward-looking. And this is important in general in any country, also ECB, but here, since you have inflation targeting setting, is particularly relevant. And another aspect it will be on this side on data warehousing, they are more on statistics, and so helping to have a, let's say, a more user-friendly data set in order to elaborate on this area. The second block it is on the statistics itself. We are talking about financial accounts. The financial accounts are a subset of the national accounts. They are a pretty sophisticated set of statistics, and also in Italy, in other countries, we're always refining this because there are quite complex technicalities behind. These financial statistics are, we also called from who to whom tables, taking and monitoring flows of assets and liabilities between different parts of the economy, from the household to the corporate and so on. And so the aim, it is to increase the frequency of these statistics on a quarterly basis, and also to enhance the granularity, the details of these statistics in terms of instruments, in terms of institutional units, in terms of valuation of assets, for instance, on equity and so on. And indeed, to have a more sophisticated, let's say, map of the economy from this side, it is extremely important. There are several complexity here, again, related to the use of cash, of the use of euro, which creates some difficulties in compiling the statistics that should be consistent, of course, in the whole economy, in asset and liability, and also considering the foreign sector. And the final part will be on the minimal reserve requirements using the BIS data on this sort of statistics again. So moving to the next section, it is more traditional, we say. It is on auditing. The aim here, it is to, after a gap analysis, in order to assess the current situation here in the Bank of Albania, we intend to provide information regarding the best practices and providing assistance in terms of how to better collect data, internal sampling, and elaborate this data. Of course, it's already done, but there is always, let's say, a room of improvement also in our institutions, in terms of quality assessment and staff trading. Here is more sharing also of experiences. Institutional difference, the legal frameworks are also different, so in different countries. So it is important to take account also these aspects. The final aim, it is to produce a policy document more in line with the ECB standards. So the next slides will be on payment system. We always stress that payment system is a sort of core in terms of complexity in Albania, because it has enormous implications from the macro side, because clearly on the monetary policy, because monetary policy having a large part of the economy, as you know, about 40% using euro, affects the effectiveness of the monetary policy. So a more efficient and less costly and the payment system has an implication on the macro side, but also, of course, on the micro side in terms of a consumer welfare, let's say, or financial inclusions, and also the problem of informal economy is again related to use of more electronic money and so on. So on payment system, we intend to devote a lot of attention in our program. It is split in 3 parts. One more on the consumer side, the Payment Account Directive is a very important piece of legislation dealing with comparability of simple banking products, on switching costs between one account to another, on transparency, and so on. And so it is important to implement this legislation, which has been recently already transposed here in Albania, but looking forward, it should be implemented. Second block, it is on oversight on payment system. Here is articulated in three parts. One, it is a PSD2, the Payment System Directive. And as you know, the EBA, European Banking Authorities, has issued a technical standard to implement this piece of legislation in a number of areas. Security of internet payment is very important, and strong customer authentication as a technique in order to use safely these instruments, and operational securities with operational risks on this, and reporting major incident and frauds to the authorities, which also is very important. So the EBA issues a number of recommendations, and we intend to focus on what I mentioned before. Second block or set of regulation is concerning cybersecurity. Here, after the 9/11 event and other very important events, also central banks has been affected. The international community at G7, G20, and so on, FSB, introduced a new setting in order not only to deal with operational risk and mitigation of this, but also on the business continuity. Authorities should react in few hours and reporting this, and I mean, should be the banks should interact in few hours, reporting the event, and so this should trigger a number of actions by central bank and also other authorities in the country, because cyber risk is related not only to banking and finance. And finally, one part it is on central securities depositories. What in Italy is Monte Titoli, just to know what we're talking about, is talking about post-trading infrastructure. We're talking about how to manage the collaterals and so on, regulation relating these aspects. And finally, one aspect will be on technology again. And this technology is how to adapt, if it is the case, the real-time gross settlement system, which in Albania is called IBS, to the European standard, the Target 2. So potential adaptation of this system to the ECB standard. We also intend to touch upon the retail instant payment infrastructures using perhaps a different technological setting, not necessarily the Target 2. So it's more sharing of information, is sharing of our experience in this area. Bank of Italy in payment system has been very strong experience of this. So I'm moving to the last part, which is component 5. As you see, it is split into very different parts. One, it is the activities of Human Resources Department, and the second, the role of the European Integration Office here in the Bank of Albania. So regarding the first part, we intend to update and to provide and to, let's say, enhance the guidelines on the activities of the human resources. Again, here sharing information. There is sort of learning by doing. It's important to see how, in our experience, we deal with some problems, such as, you know, key monitor performance indicators, how onboarding activities for newcomers, and recruitment process, best practices. I would say it's not regulation, it's more indeed best practices, and shares our experience at the Bank of Italy and what is going on here in this bank, considering also that in this area, again, there are different legal settings, so not necessarily we can apply, let's say, the same approach that we are following in Italy, because there are differences. And finally, and last, I would say last but not least, we are talking about the European Integration Office. It's a unit here in the Bank of Albania. The aim it is to design a roadmap, perhaps to provide a better policy objectives of this important unit if the country wants to converge toward the European standard, and also to see the capabilities in terms of organizational setting as well as resources devoted to this internal unit. So to conclude, I just want to stress that, of course, considering the sustainable and tangible results that we believe we will deliver in this twinning, despite the very tight time frame. It's 1 year, and you cover all these aspects, extremely demanding, both from our side and for Bank of Albania to absorb, let's say, in such a limited period of time, all these informations. But we are absolutely convinced that we will deliver this. Our roadmap is very precise. We already plan mission by missions with names and dates since here to the end of the program. We did a program plan for 1 year, and so this is due to our, it reflects our commitment for as a, let's say, a member states donors, and also the strong full ownership of the program by the Bank of Albania. And thank you very much for your kind attention.
Thank you very much, Mr. Gola. As it was presented from colleagues from Banca d'Italia and Deutsche Bundesbank, it is a wide-range program covering the main functions of the central bank. We are really very happy, and this will further support Bank of Albania, as I presented, from the additional program, because this is a continuity of the additional program, which is drafted and designed for a very optimal period of time. I would not say for a short time, because sometimes when things are focused, are better resulted. So in this context, we will strengthen our capacities as a central bank, which will definitely help in the process of European integration of Albania. As a central bank, it's a key institution. We are having as well a very good cooperation with the Ministry of Finance for harmonizing the monetary policy with the fiscal policy. Minister already left because she was busy, but basically in all our processes, this program will help the central bank strengthening capacities for the European integration, of course, but not only for exerting the main functions of the central bank. And I'm very happy that Banca d'Italia and Deutsche Bundesbank and also Bank of France and National Bank of Romania will be part of this process. I take the chance to thank you all the supporters, ambassadors, central banks, colleagues from other central banks, in supporting Bank of Albania in this program, and thank you all the speakers being presented and clarifying where this project, with this twinning project, will be focused. If there is nothing more to be said, I would say that we close this event, and thank you very much for being present. Thank you very much.